where we talk about the everyday problems that people face in their lives. Let's start the video. My fiancé Liam was my first and only relationship. We were high school sweethearts, dated throughout college, got engaged at 22, and were supposed to get married at 24. Liam always. I had a close relationship with my sister Mary and I never had a problem with that. I thought her closeness was normal, something I should be happy about, especially after reading stories online about in-laws who don't get along with their daughters' partners. Even when something seemed strange to me, like how Mary's boyfriends were always too jealous and protective of her, I chose to ignore it. I didn't want to connect the dots. Although the truth was always in front of me, I ignored my worries as insecurity, but deep down I knew that my instincts had been right all along. In the end, I felt foolish for closing my eyes to the truth when I should have been paying attention. I gave Liam and my sister the space to betray me behind my back, and they did so very cleverly. On the very day of my wedding, everything fell apart for me in what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. If someone had asked me beforehand, I would never have imagined that the people I trusted the most would hurt me so deeply and in such a public way, with hundreds of people there. I still remember the moment when I realized that Liam wasn't going to show up at the wedding. I realized that he had blocked my number and all my social media accounts. I felt a pain. Terrible, and the tears wouldn't stop. No comfort or apology from others could make me feel better. I couldn't believe that Liam and my sister had disappeared without a trace, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find them. I left Liam message after message, dazed, telling him everything that Mary's boyfriend had said, that Mary was pregnant with his child, but she had tried to make it seem like it was Liam's. I knew that if Liam didn't read those messages now, he would be left in the dark. Trapped with Mary for a long time, and that was exactly what happened. She never saw my messages, and I thought they would stay together. I was heartbroken. For a year, but one day I realized that I needed to move on. I started going to therapy, joined some local clubs, made new friends, got my apartment, and began to live a decent life again. Years have passed since everything happened, and now it feels like a nightmare, strangely enough. Sometimes I feel grateful for what happened. Although I was 27 years old when we were about to get married, I now see that I wasn't really ready. Now I know what I want, and I've found someone who makes me happy. I started dating Adam, who treats me much better than Liam. Things with Adam are going very well, and we are planning to move in together and take the next step in our relationship. My life now feels normal, and I realize it's because Liam is not around to cause chaos. But of course, this story wouldn't exist if everything had remained calm. It all began when I received a call from a number that didn't seem familiar to me. So I answered without knowing who it was. I was surprised to hear Liam's voice on the other end. It sounded as if he had been crying, and his voice trembled. He started the conversation by apologizing for everything. Feeling uncomfortable, I just responded with a calm "okay," while he continued talking. He said that he had finally read the messages I sent him years ago and that now everything made sense. He regretted everything and asked if we could meet just once to talk. I told him no, that after everything, I could no longer trust him. Surprisingly, he didn't argue, he just hung up. I thought that was the end, and I was relieved. I could finally put the matter to rest, and it seemed that Liam had received it. The karma they deserved, but unfortunately, that phone call was just the beginning. The next day, I started receiving an avalanche of calls and text messages from my parents, relatives, and even Mary. They all blamed me for ruining a happy marriage. My mother was especially upset, saying it was mean of me to tell Liam everything that Mary's ex-boyfriend had told me because apparently, she and Liam were already building their relationship. I shouldn't have tried to ruin things, but this made me sure that Liam must have confronted Mary and something went wrong between them. Honestly, I don't feel even a little sympathy for someone like Mary who destroyed my home. Everything that's happening to her is because she can't be honest or loyal. Still, I can't help but have a bit of doubt. Although Liam's family and even Adam are on my side, I need some advice. I made a mistake. I talked more with Adam about this because I felt it was time to tell him the whole story. Before, he only knew some details. I told him about my wedding day, Mary's ex-boyfriend, and everything that happened since then. Adam was understanding and supportive. He knew why I was so hurt by how my family was acting in this situation. He even suggested that I should meet Liam. Hearing what he had to say surprised me, but I accepted it. I sent a message to Liam at the same number he used to call me. We talked a bit and made plans to meet in a couple of days since he would be flying to my city. I will keep you all updated. Good. Today I met Liam and everything you predicted was correct. Mary had lied to Liam because, of course, Liam had more money than her ex-boyfriend, who was still in college. When they were dating, their relationship became toxic right after Liam proposed to her because Mary had gotten what she wanted, a bank account. She stopped doing the things she used to do with him and started using him to get his money. Liam was heartbroken. Since they were married, divorcing her would mean losing many of his assets. However, he finally found one of the messages she had sent him while checking his old phone, and that confirmed his suspicions. She decided to do a DNA test on her son just in case, and it turned out that the ex-boyfriend was right. Liam threw Mary out and filed for divorce. Mary is furious now because she had to move back in with my parents and can no longer afford her expensive lifestyle. Liam told me he wanted to meet with me to thank me for helping him. He also tried to talk about how he wished things had worked out between us. I told him directly that the only reason it didn't work was not because of him and his lack of loyalty. I suppose he finally realized how badly he had gotten himself into because he listened to everything I said with his head down, embarrassed. I didn't say much, I simply got up and left. Right now, what I'm thinking about is my relationship with my family. It's heartbreaking. How can they side with Mary when she is the one who is wrong? It makes me wonder if my relationship with them was ever real. I know they have always favored Mary because she is the youngest, but this is too much. Honestly, I am at a loss for words. I think I need some time to figure out what I want. Adam and I decided to take a road trip that lasted about 2 weeks. Fortunately, our jobs are flexible. That trip opened my eyes. It made me see my parents for who they really are and how they truly see me. I realized that for them, I was always just a replacement for Mary. As soon as they recovered her, they would forget about me. This time was no different from the others, except that now I saw it clearly and could connect the dots. His favoritism towards her is so extreme that I wouldn't be surprised if they even encouraged her to have an affair with him. As expected, Mary threw a tantrum. When she returned and my parents got angry with me again, I am sure they also gave her a lot of money, especially because she gave birth to her first grandchild. But as usual, Mary ran away again, this time with another rich guy, and cut off all contact with my parents, leaving them in charge of my nephew. However, I didn't find out from my parents they began to act sweetly and talked about wanting to see me again, which made me suspicious, so I called my cousin who told me everything. It was so when I realized that they wanted me to take care of Mary's son until she returned and then they would leave me aside again, I wasn't going to let that happen. It was then that everything clicked for me, and I knew I had to cut off contact with them. So I blocked their numbers yesterday when I got back to the city, and I also found out that Liam tried to move back in with his parents after losing so much money on divorce lawyers and alimony, but they said no. As I said before, he deserves it. I don't feel any sympathy for Mary, my parents, or Liam. Mary will face the consequences. My parents are now raising my nephew, and Liam's life has fallen apart because he couldn't make it. I am loyal to Adam, and my biggest concern right now is just our relationship. Thank you, you are definitely in favor of cutting. The ties with your family sound like a disaster, and the sooner you cut them, the happier you will be. You should also trust your instincts more because it can save you a lot of pain. I love how you ended up cutting off your family. I could see throughout the story that they played an important role in all the problems. I'm glad you realized it and addressed the issue from the root. Now let's talk about my situation. I am 28 years old, I am a woman, and I live with my husband who is 30. My mother, who is 61, was diagnosed with early-onset dementia about a year ago. She lives with us because none of the other family members are willing to take her in. As I am a nurse, I have faced pressure to take care of her, but it's very different when it comes to your own mother. I know she will worsen over time at this moment. Keep enjoying life by watching your favorite movies and playing cards, but they can't leave her alone because she is vulnerable and might accidentally start a fire or forget something. Where is it? I have an older brother named Larry who is 37 years old. Until recently, he hasn't helped at all with the care of our mother. Larry lives with his wife, who is 35 years old, and they have 2 children, aged 12 and 9. I have asked Larry for help several times, but he always says he is too busy with the kids and their activities. Over the past month, I have been more assertive with Larry and told him that she is also their mother and that the least he could do is help out once a week. Now every Friday, he takes our mother out for the day, usually to have a coffee and go for a walk. She loves it and gives my husband and me a break, but Larry's wife is angry with me. She says I'm driving Larry away from his family and that when he comes home, he doesn't want to help with household chores or play with the kids. I told him it wasn't my fault and that taking care of his mother wasn't optional. It's not fair that my husband and I do everything when Larry is completely capable of helping. He suggested that they be willing to split the cost. She said they have better things to spend their money on. I told her, well, tough luck, and that Larry would have to keep helping. He called me an idiot. By forcing Larry to help, you are not taking care of your mom. It is a great responsibility for you and your husband. Your brother helps once a week for a few hours, that is the least he can do. If afterwards he is too tired to help his wife or take care of his children, that is. It's a problem they need to solve. They chose to have children, so that's not your issue. I'm sure you have other things you'd like to spend your money on, but here you are, taking care of your mom full-time and covering all the costs. It seems like your brother's wife is being selfish. For not trying to understand, but this can't continue like this alone. It will get more difficult. Don't let yourself be the only one taking care of the finances and your mom. You and your brother need to work together to find a solution. Of course, you should consider your husband, and he should consider his wife, but they don't have the final say. If your sister-in-law doesn't like it, go on vacation and leave your mom at her house while you are sure. Let me show you what it's like to care for someone with dementia. Now, my story. My boyfriend is 32 years old and I am 34. We are celebrating our 4th anniversary this month. Since the actual day falls on a weekday, we decided to celebrate it over the weekend. We both work from home and don't live together, so I wanted to surprise him on the actual day with breakfast and a plant. He loves plants and a box of chocolates. I arrived at his house around 7 in the morning, knocked on the door, and waited a while for him to respond. I thought he was still asleep. When he finally opened the door, he seemed annoyed that I had woken him up. I told him that I had just brought him some gifts for our anniversary. He simply said, "It's fine." Still looking upset, he returned to his bedroom, leaving me standing there with the gifts. I was surprised by his reaction. I left the things I had brought on the kitchen table and was about to leave, but then I heard a noise coming from his room. He came back wearing pants, and I thought he was going to hug me or something like that, but instead, he fed his cat and went to the bathroom. As I stood by the door, I felt sad about how he reacted and started to cry because all I wanted was a little happiness from him. He sighed and asked me what was wrong. I told him I was sad because he seemed upset by my presence and that I hoped he would be a bit happy that I brought him something for our anniversary. He responded sarcastically, saying he was sorry for not meeting my expectations and that I couldn't expect him to be happy because I had woken him up and he hadn't slept well. Honestly, I didn't expect a big celebration or even a gift from him. All I wanted was a hug, a kiss, and a simple thank you, which didn't happen. We couldn't even enjoy breakfast together because I was in a really bad mood after that, so I left his house. So, I'm the idiot. For waking him up to surprise him. Thank you all for your comments, they gave me a lot to think about. I will try to answer your questions. His sleep schedule is such that he wakes up whenever he wants since he is self-employed. He only has issues with insomnia, something he is working on. Before my visit, he told me he was getting back to a normal sleep schedule and that he was waking up around 8 or 9. So, I didn't think that 7 in the morning would be too early. Initially, I planned to leave the gifts in his mailbox and send him a text message, but I got excited seeing his reaction in person. I admit I should have thought it through more carefully. I don't usually show up like this, but I thought it would be a sweet gesture. He usually likes surprises. Yes, he likes the keys to his house. He used to have them, but he asked me for them after he got the cat he adopted when his grandmother moved to a nursing home. His mother takes care of the cat when he's not around, which is why I no longer have the keys. Some people think it's strange that I haven't made another copy, but I don't see it as a red flag. Supplement, we don't think about it, it's cheating. No, he is not cheating. I didn't give any hint that I didn't trust him. The noise I heard was just him drinking water, making his bed, and putting on his pants. I trust him for the update. We talked about everything and we both agreed that we were a bit. I apologize for waking you up after a bad night and for getting angry about how you reacted. I apologize for making you feel rejected and said it would have been different if I had slept well. You also mentioned that you were moved by the gesture, not by the idiot. Look, I'm not a morning person either, so I can be like a zombie when I wake up, but even if I were barely functioning, I would still hug you, thank you, and let you know that I need a quick shower to wake up completely. After 5 years, I probably know your sleep schedule. Many comments focus on the fact that it was 7 in the morning, which is when most people are awake, but since he works from home, his schedule is different. If my partner woke me up at 4 in the morning with a surprise, especially on a day when we had already agreed not to celebrate, probably I would feel the same.